Welcome to 7C, 7D. 7C is actually factoring, 7D is solving. So we're going to do this all together. So solving polynomials. Polynomials just mean many, nomials, terms. So we have many terms. We do have special cases of which is what kind of polynomials, like if they're a monomial, binomial, trinomial, and that's 7A and 7C, 7B. But for this, we're going to move all the terms to one side. That's going to be called standard form when you have all terms to one side and everything is simplified. There's no multiplication, no other operations to work on. All right, at this point, now we got to look at the second. Factor out the greatest common factor, if there is one. Well, there is one in this case. Greatest common factor is x. We can divide all the terms by x. So we're divided by x. You are undistributing it, moving it out in front. And it equals 0. Now, we got to factor the remaining polynomial. First, I should have stopped right away and asked, how many solutions are there to this equation? Well, we have 5. We have 5 different solutions. So where are these solutions going to be found? Well, they're always with the exponents of each variable. Right now we have one of our greatest common factor has an exponent of 1. So one of our solutions is going to come from that greatest common factor. The other 4 solutions come from the 4x to the 4th minus x squared minus 56. Now we're going to factor this. And how to factor x to the 4th minus x squared minus 56, we're going to treat this like it's a quadratic. So it's quadratic like it's 3 terms. Instead of x squared, it's x to the 4th, which is, it still works. 4th or 6th. So we have your a is 1, your b is -1, and your c is -56. So we got to figure out, if a is 1, we can do the factor of what times what is multiplies to -56 to c, what multiplies to c that adds up to b. So -56 that adds up to 1, and that is -8 and 7. So -8 and 7. So the shortcut is, our factors are going to be -8 and a +7. X to the 4th is going to get split up evenly into x squared and x squared. So those are our factors from x to the 4th. Don't forget we have that greatest common factor of x. It'll be on the outside. And now what we're going to do, this is going to set equal to 0. We're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Well, that first one, x equals 0, is already solved. X is by itself. Great. That's one of our solutions. X squared minus 8 equals 0. X squared plus 7 equals 0. We need to solve both of these. And that is actually, I skipped over to step 4. Step 4 is setting them equal to 0, each factor equal to 0, and solving. So because each of these has just one x in the problem, we can solve by the square root method. Square root, anytime you square root with solving, you have a positive and negative answer. And the square root of 8 can be simplified. That can be simplified into the square root of 4 times 2, and the square root of 4 is 2. So we have x equals a positive and -2 square root of 2. There's 2 answers. Remember that the first answer is x equals 0. We have 2 answers here at a positive and -2 square root of 2. And then our other 2 answers are going to come from this other quadratic. Square root, don't forget the positive and negative. So we have positive and negative. The square root of a negative number comes out as I, that's the square root of -1. And then square root of 7 cannot be simplified. And there's your other 2 solutions. So we have 5 total. 2 here, 2 here, and 2, or 1 at the very beginning. All right, let's look at, I'm just going to pick some random numbers. Number 2. So this one, I'm going to move all terms to one side. So I have x to the 5th minus 5x to the 3rd plus 4x equals 0. I have a greatest common factor of x, so this is very similar to that first problem actually. So it should be pretty quick. Ooh, no, that's to the 4th. Square plus 4 equals 0. So one of our solutions can come from the greatest common factor. The other solution is going to come from the polynomial here, this trinomial that is to the fourth power. So we have a is 1, so we do what two numbers multiply to c that add up to b, and that's negative 4 and negative 1. So we have x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 1. You can do what I taught you, whether you have x squared, so you can square root the first term and square root the second term, and as a subtraction in the middle. If you do that, the square root of x is x, and the square root of 4 is 2. One's positive, one's negative. So there's two more factors. You actually can do that with the second factor also. So you have the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 1 is 1. One's positive, one's negative. And so we have 4 different factors here. So all 4 factors, you set them equal to 0. Each individual equation is going to give you one solution. So the first one, subtract 2, you get negative 2. Add 2, you get positive 2. Subtract 1, you get negative 1. Add 1, you get positive 1. There are 4 solutions. Well, there should be 5 total. Well, where is it? Well, it's because we forgot this one here. The greatest common factor set it equal to 0. There's nothing to solve. You already have x by itself. So there are your 5 solutions. All right, let's take a look at number 4. So number 4 is an interesting situation. We have 4 different terms, and there's no like terms. We just so happened to have Punnett square that has 4 boxes. So we're going to put it in to see if we can factor it. This doesn't always work, but sometimes it actually does. So the first term goes in the top left, last term bottom right. We get negative 8x squared and a positive 3x. Those can go in either, doesn't matter where you put them. Greatest common factor of the bottom row is negative 4. Top row is x. Last column is positive 3. And the first column is 2x squared. So then our factors are 2x squared plus 3 equals 0. Set them equal to 0. X minus 4 equals 0. And the first one, we solve this, it's going to be a little bit lengthy. Divide by 2, and everything looks great so far. But then here's where it's going to go a little strange. When you square root, which is great, you have a positive negative. But when we square root a fraction, you are square rooting the numerator and the denominator. Well, in math, we cannot have the square root left in the denominator as a final answer. So what we have to do in this case, it's a monomial, so we're going to multiply by the square root of 2. So this is going to end up being x equals, we have a positive, negative, the negative comes out as I, and 3 times 2 is 6, over 2 times 2 is 4, the square root of 4 is 2. So there's 2 of our answers. The other answer is going to come from this linear equation here, which is 4. And I am going to choose another problem here. So we got number 6. I'll do number 6 and number 8. So x squared, subtract x, or to the fourth, subtract 3x squared. So we have 5x to the fourth plus 17x squared plus 14 equals 0. And I know my handwriting's a little sloppy there, but the a is not 1, so we can't do a times, or just what multiplies the c that adds up to b. We got to do a times c. So 5 times 14 is 70. What adds this multiplies the 70, that adds up to b, the 17, and that's 10 and 7. So we're going to put those into Punnett square. We have a term top left, c term bottom right, and the 10 is going to add up to x squared. So 10x squared and 7x squared. Bottom row is 2, top row is x squared, 5x squared, and positive 7. Set each one of those factors equal to 0. Oh, this is a positive because of 10. And 5x squared plus 7 equals 0. Subtract 2. Square root, you're square rooting, so you have a positive negative. And you got 2 solutions there. We got the I. And then minus 7, minus 7. This is actually very similar to the last problem I worked out. Square root, when you square root positive and negative, we have the square root of a positive negative. Square root of negative 7 is I square root of 7 over square root of 5. We got to multiply by the denominator to get rid of that square root. So x equals a positive negative I. 7 times 5 is 35 over 5 times 5 in the denominator is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. So there's the other two. All right, I'm going to work out number 8, and everything else should be pretty similar. So I am going to work this out. There's multiple ways to do it. I'm going to do this by factoring. So we have, this is an a is 1, and you can square root both terms. Actually, it's just mainly the square root both terms, and there's subtraction in the middle. Square root of x to the 4th is x squared. Square root of 9 is 3. One of the factors is a positive, one's negative. And then when you set each factor equal to 0 and solve, you'll have your answers. So subtract 3, square root, positive, negative, I square root of 3. There's two answers, and we get the other two coming from the second equation. Positive, negative, square root of 3. Can't simplify the square root of 3, so that's your final answer. All right.